no matter the location. From O-A-K-L-A to L-V, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what is going on? You are watching the Raiders Report, and today's show presented by Manscaped, the best damn male grooming products on the market. That's for Chucky heads, believe it, baby. Head on over to manscaped.com/Raiders, where you can save 20% off and get free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. Plus, it's almost Father's Day, so if you haven't gotten your dad something nice yet, that's a you problem. If you're trying to become a dad, I haven't done any studies, but I've seen people have better chance of having babies when they go ahead and use Manscaped. That's all I'm saying. So what are we talking about here on today's show? The top free agents out there on the market that the Raiders can sign. This isn't a normal list, but I am going to work from defensive tackle. We're going to go at a lot of defense, then finish with a little bit of offense. Let's go to the first guy on my list. It's Jurrell Casey, who still is out there. Played in only 3 games last season due to injury, but before that injury, missed only 5 games before the 2020 season. So, this guy historically has been able to stay pretty healthy. He can still be a reliable defensive tackle. I know the Raiders decided to move on from David Irving, so maybe they still want somebody who can be a veteran in that locker room because, let's face it, they have a lot of young players, and I like Solomon Thomas. I like Quentin Jefferson, even though he's not really young. But can, Darius Stills take that next step? Can Kendall Vickers take that next step? Can Jonathan Hankins be a little bit, better? All these things are still question marks, and Casey, if he is fully healthy, this dude can lock it down on the defensive line, and I don't really think there's too much to debate there. 3 games last season, had 14 total tackles. Again, a little bit of an older player, but for this Gus Bradley defense, you're looking for extra depth there on the defensive line, and I guess I should throw this out there. The other reason why I wanted to make this video is because there's actually a lot of talents out there on the market, so something to keep in mind. I was actually going to put Sheldon Richardson on today's show, and then Sheldon Richardson decided to sign with the Minnesota Vikings. So if you didn't know that, it's all good. And maybe you don't know a lot of the top free agents out there. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and smash that subscribe button. What does that mean? It means underneath this video, it literally says subscribe. It's red. You click on that, whether it's with your finger, whether it's with your mouse, or whether it's with something else. I mean, this is presented by Manscaped. All you got to do then is hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss anything during the entire offseason. But you also need to turn on those notifications. And what do I mean by that? It means literally when a video pops up on YouTube, you get it just like you'd get a text message, maybe an email, maybe a booty call. I don't care what it is. But here's how you turn on your YouTube notifications. Go to your settings app, okay? It literally looks like that gear button over there. Scroll on down, tap YouTube. Then tap notifications, and then turn on allow notifications. Bottom line, we give shout-outs to the people that come across these videos first, and it helps us out a lot. So if you could, please turn on your noties. All right, let's go to the next player here. It's Geno Atkins. Barely played in 2020 for the Bengals, but that's just because Cincinnati, for whatever reason, didn't want to play a lot of their really good players. He's probably going to have to take a cheap deal, but most of the guys that you see on this list now are probably going to have to take that cheap, prove-it type of deal. Can still be a veteran presence in the locker room, offers veteran value, and can also give you that some pass rush ability as well. But you're going to look at these numbers and be like, Mitch, this guy's washed up in 8 games, 1 tackle, 1 quarterback hit. I'm telling y'all right now, look at what Carlos Dunlap did for Cincinnati. I was like, go out and get Dunlap. Go out and get Dunlap. People laughed at me. And he was great for Seattle. Same thing for Geno Atkins. He can be good. He just needs to be given a chance. And I'm telling you, the 32-year-old, he can still get it done. Speaking of guys over 30 years old, let's go to K.J. Wright at the linebacker position. Is this really a major need for the Raiders? No. You got Corey Littleton, Nick Lukowski, Nicholas Morrow, Tanner Muse, Javen White, Divine Diablo. I mean, this is actually a pretty solid linebacking room. However, he might actually be the most talented player on this list in terms of being able to contribute right away. Is he getting up there in age? Absolutely. But remember a few years ago, and some names, this is a name that people might not like, but Vontaze Burfict. Vontaze Burfict really wasn't all that great, but he knew the Paul Gunther system, and he went down. The Raiders really fell apart. I'm not saying that K.J. Wright is Vontaze Burfict because Wright is 100 times better than him, but from a veteran presence, knowing the Gus Bradley system, plus all his ability that he gives you on a football field, you at least got to look into it, because if he's willing to take a cheaper deal, a 1-year deal on a defense that he knows he can succeed in, and then hopefully get a bigger contract going forward, that's okay. I mean, this dude had 86 tackles last year, 2 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recovers. He's just an absolute tackling machine. And do I really think it's very likely he comes to the Raiders? No. Most of the players on this list probably aren't going to come to the Raiders. But you know what? For you not to at least pick up the phone and be like, hey, KJ, what are you looking for? I don't think you're doing your job then. So at least pick up the phone and call my guy. So what I want every single person that comes across this video to do is name a free agent you want the Raiders to sign. And if you don't want to sign anyone, just type no down in the comments. So you know what? I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video, which means it's going to be the very, very first comment that everyone sees. So while you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down and let me know a free agent you want the Raiders to sign. All right, next player coming up here on top, NFL free agents left. I got Melvin Ingram. The obvious reasons why I like Ingram. When he's healthy, he's dominant. I've also seen him terrorize the Raiders for a very long time. Plus, he understands the Gus Bradley system well. That's me selling the standpoint of, let's go get Melvin Ingram. The part where I'm a little bit worried is like, all right, he had 0 sacks last season, 31 years old, and just cannot stay healthy. 7 games last year due to injury, and it's just a injury bug keeps on biting this dude. Plus, he's had some workouts. He's had some visits with some NFL teams, and he's still available. A lot of times when that happens, it means maybe there was a red flag during the checkups, or maybe he's just not as good as what he was in the past. But coming off a year where he played 7 games, had no sacks, only 10 tackles, I like Melvin Ingram. And if you can give me the best version of him, that's what I'd be about. However, I am a little bit worried about that happening. Now, today's show presented by Manscaped. So if you guys are looking to save 20% and get the best male grooming products on the market, head on over to manscaped.com/Raiders. Now, you guys have probably heard me say this 1,000 times on the show that Manscaped has the best male grooming products out there. I say that because I literally use their products every day. And what do I mean by that? I wear these boxers at least once a week, the most comfortable boxers you'll ever own. The ball toner and ball deodorant, if you don't go out in public, or if you do go out in public without using those 2 products in the middle of the summer, I really question you. Be like, how often do you actually go out without putting deodorant on? Just tell me. If you want to tell me and be like, oh, I go out every day without wearing deodorant, shame on you. Do you brush your teeth in the morning? God, I hope so. So you should still go ahead and use these products so if somebody walks by you and it's 115 degrees in Las Vegas, they're not like, holy shit, this guy smells terrible. No, it's made to make sure that you guys are smelling great all the time. And the reason why I always tell people use the Lawnmower 4.0, which is actually now available in the perfect package, is because you're not going to cut yourself. It's got a long-lasting battery life, and studies have shown if you use Manscaped products, you have a better chance of, well, you know what I'm talking about. Manscaped.com/Raiders, 20% off and free shipping. If nobody got that analogy, maybe this one would be a little bit better. I'm not going to do that. Let's go to the next player here on the Raiders Report, Justin Houston. If you want an edge rusher, if you want a veteran edge rusher, okay, Justin Houston's the name to go with. And maybe you like Melvin Ingram a lot, but if you're telling me right now I can get somebody who's just as much AFC West experience as Ingram, Houston might be a little bit more expensive, but he's also had 4 straight seasons with at least 8 sacks, okay? And he hasn't missed a game since 2018. That's what I want in my player. Houston also would be a great dude in the locker room. 25 tackles last year, 8 sacks, 8 tackles for a loss. He would be more expensive, I imagine, than Ingram. However, you can't sit here and tell me that the Raiders don't need extra pass rushing help. I like the players we have a lot, but you could always use a little extra pass rushing help, right? Right? All right, let's go to the next player here. If there's a jersey that I want, you already know who I'm going to go to. It's Malik Hooker. And I'll tell you what right now, if Malik Hooker gets signed by the Raiders, I'm getting the jersey. We're going to give one away here on the show, and it's just the perfect setup for a Manscaped read. You can't deny the elite talent. I mean, you just can't. He's missed 28 games, though, in 4 seasons. Like that's the issue here with Hooker, because you see a player on the field, you're like, man, this guy is like dynamic. He can cover, he can tackle, he can do everything. And I wish this could be like Madden, where he just turn the injuries off. Because if he could just turn the injuries off, Hooker ought to be signed. However, he's already visited with, I believe, 3 to 4 teams as it stands right now, and he's still out there. So exactly the same thing that I mentioned with Ingram. There's red flags out there. But if he's healthy and he can actually come in and play on a 1-year deal, a really cheap prove-it deal, like a 1-year, probably a vet min, I guess he's a vet, right? Like $1 million, that's something that I'd still be open to. So Malik, if you want to come repping some silver and black, all you got to do, man, let me know. All right, if you guys want to hit me up on IG, it's at MitchellRenz365. I've been doing a lot more IG lives recently, at least just trying to get to know you guys a little bit better, because it's the off season, and sometimes I get bored during the weekends. If you guys don't know, I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee this weekend for a bachelor party. So if you live near there, if you want to hang out, hit me up. Let's grab some drinks. But if you saw anything anything from this video that you thought was weird, don't be afraid to ask me some questions. All right, let's go to the next player. Coming up here on the show, it's Richard Sherman, and as somebody's going to be walking by their computer, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube, and they're going to see, wow, Richard Sherman, what's happening? All this is like, I really don't think that Sherman ends up coming to the Raiders. If I was a betting man, probably would bet on him either going back to the 49ers or even Seattle at this point, but he said that he's going to sign after the draft. Well, Richard, the draft was, literally like May 1st it ended. He's still out there on the market. I really think that he's asking for way too much money. It's why he's still out there. But if he were to come in, play on a cheap deal, he had 18 tackles last season. He knows the Gus Bradley system very well, playing in it, I believe, in 2012 and 2013. With Seattle, he's a long and lanky player, could teach a lot of these players, some of these younger guys, a thing or two about being a successful player in the NFL. But Richard Sherman is a big-name player. Had to put him on the show, but I don't think he ends up coming to Las Vegas. If there's one player that I actually really would like and think is probably the most realistic of it happening is actually Brian Poole. Probably the best slot corner on the market as it stands right now. And when I go from top to bottom on this Raiders roster, I really think that they could still add somebody on the defensive line, whether it be an edge rusher, defensive tackle, but definitely slot corner. Because if Casey Hayward plans on playing on the outside, then who's going to be the slot? Maybe it's Damon Arnett. Maybe it's Amik Robertson. We both, or I guess both, the 500 and something people watch right now, we like those young players. But I know for a fact that Brian Poole is a damn good slot player. And if you could insert him in right away, I mean, that helps you out right away, right? He had 44 tackles last season, 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. And those are good numbers considering the fact that he was banged up and he was on a bad Jets team. But probably the last 3 years, he's been a top 15 slot corner. That's still a major need for this football team. So let's be honest with each other, right? Because let's be honest. Are you a part of the Noti Gang? Y for yes or N for no. If you don't know what the Noti Gang is, it means, well, you're not one of the very first people that come in and watch our shows. It means your notifications aren't turned on. And if your notifications aren't turned on, rewind this video a little bit and then turn them on. That way you guys can, be the very first people that come across our videos. So we always give some love to the people that get on the show right away. Untouchable Raider 1960, I can almost guarantee he's going to be one of the very first people to comment on almost every video I do, so shout out to him. Aaron Sabo, Raiderville 13A, and then Nick McBride. Appreciate you guys being part of the Noti Gang. If you want to get featured on an upcoming Raider show, turn on your notifications. All right, let's go to the very next player here, and it's actually not going to be Brian Poole because we just talked about him. So we're going to go to the next guy after that. It's Steven Nelson, cut by the Steelers earlier this offseason. He's an above-average corner in coverage and in the run defense department as well. Sure, he's a little bit older, but if you were to tell me who's a player that I hope Damon Arnett turns out to be, I'd actually probably say Steven Nelson because that's probably Arnett's ceiling. And Nelson is a solid player. He's not going to be the best defensive player on your team, but he's at least reliable. The other thing that I like about him is he can line up near the line of scrimmage, be physical, and plays his role exactly what you need him to do. Last season, 48 tackles, 2 INTs, 9 pass breakups. This is one of the reasons why I think Nelson would be an interesting player. However, it's also a guy that I think is asking for a little bit too much money. The last player coming up here on the show is actually going to be on the offensive line, and the only offensive player that the Raiders should probably still out and at least look at to helping their team. I'm going to go Trai Turner, and let's face it, this guy played terrible last season for the Los Angeles Chargers. It's the truth. He was not a good fit whatsoever. So, why would Gus Bradley want to bring him in, right? Well, if you go back and look at what he did in 2015 and 2019 with Carolina, this was a Pro Bowl caliber guard. It's the truth. He battled a bad injury last year. He played in only 9 games, allowed 1 sack. But am I really fully confident that Richie Incognito is going to be able to play a full 16? I guess 17 now. No, I'm not. Is Denzel Good going to be solid? Yes, he is. Is John Simpson going to be reliable? That's a question mark. So if I'm not 100% sold on all these guards that are supposed to be at least starting caliber, maybe you roll the dice, go with a guy like Trai Turner, and if he's not 100% healthy, you let him sit back there, and if he is healthy, make him fight for a roster spot.